All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mind Your Buffalo podcast. Sorry for the late episode. I've been in the middle of a lot of things. I recently changed houses. Everything's still a mess. I don't have like my usual setup. Anyways, who gives a shit about this setup, right? Like, you see all these YouTube shows, all these content creators, and like they have this kind of a setup. They have a studio, they have teams of people working under them, people whose salaries are being paid from these podcasts because apparently they're making so much money. Or my guess, as I've said before, they're not making money. These people just have so much money, they just want to keep doing podcasts. Like, in India, I think this whole podcasting influencer space is just such a complete, like all of these cultural savarna spaces are completely actually disconnected from the economics of actually making sense or actually making money, because the people who run that kind of stuff or who run that kind of scene don't really need to make money. They already have the money. What they don't have is attention. They just want attention. They want to be known, they want to be famous, they want to be able to flex. Okay. And they're not even particularly good or intelligent or creative or whatever. Like, I've seen so many of these uh, dumb podcasts which have been started by these influencers who got famous because they were doing these videos of get ready with me videos, or you know like you're young and you're hot, that's it. Okay, so you're young and you're hot and you go on Instagram and you give out like these 30-second snippets of your life. Or like, okay, here's I'm like this dude, I have my hat back on, and this is my domestic worker, ye meri bai hai, or aaj hum bai ka hum makeover karenge, that kind of nonsense. And they'll do that, and like, the reels algorithm just like inflates your ego. And like, you make a reel. Now I recently started getting into making some reels, so I have some insight into this. Like, my god, like, you make a dumb reel and like the analytics shows you it's been watched by 50,000 people, or 1 lakh people have watched your reel, and you're like, wow, 1 lakh people, that's my reach. And so all of these people think that they're kind of like, funny, witty, famous, whatever, like they're young and that they get recognized in the spaces that they go to, so they're like, oh, of course I should have a podcast. No, you don't. You have nothing to say. You're boring, you're basic, so you come onto these shows and you just giggle and you try to sound intelligent and you try to sound like smooth and sexy and stuff, and it's tepid and it's boring, but your background looks super cool. बिकॉज उसमें तो तुमने 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, 1 लाख रुपए डाले हैं. तुम्हारा लाइटिंग सेटअप इज गजब. ठीक है, वो 15 लाइट होगी, 3 कैमरा सेटअप होगा, देयर बी अ टीम ऑफ 8 पीपल वर्किंग, एंड तुम्हारा जो गेस्ट आएगा इन्फ्लुएंसर दूसरा, he or she also has like, another team of 8, 10 people. So that's really what podcasting in India has now become, or YouTubing in India has become in that kind of a space. Like, oh, you're like Ranbir Alabadia, जहां पर like, ministers are coming, election season है तो तुम बुला लोगे minister को. अक्षय कुमार आ रहा है, is coming on your show to, like, promote his movie, and you're like, कैसा लगता है आपको, कैसा लगता है आपको, I mean, that's where we are. And I'm sorry if I sound a little frustrated, because I'm a little frustrated, because I live in this dump of a city. I have people who listen to the podcast know I absolutely despise this dump of a town that I live in. And it's not like it's because it's a small town. Okay, it's not a small town. I've lived in small towns before. I actually find small towns very charming. It's just that this particular town is completely bereft of any charm, and any form of, if there is a form of local culture, smoothness, beauty, romance, I haven't been able to tap into yet. I've been here almost a year. I haven't been able to tap into it. It's annoying as fuck, because what this is it's just outside Hyderabad to not be part of Hyderabad, but it is just close enough to Hyderabad to be like the next real estate mafia takeover. Okay, that's where we are. That's what the town of Sangareddy is. And and any town which has the misfortune of falling in this space, it all looks the same. It is basically a bunch of luxury premium real estate projects which are coming up. It's a luxury real estate takeover, and the rest of the small town, which was the original town, which was existing, which had its old bus stop and small market, nobody gives a shit about that anymore. So that's in the process of disintegrating and decaying. And all the stuff that, the fancy malls and stuff that will come, those Swiggy service, Uber service, ये सब जो smoothness है, वो has not come yet. So you're in this stuck middle space where nothing is really, everything is like in this process of being built up, being constructed, and you're just stuck in the middle of it in the wrongest timing ever. So that's what living in this town is. The only thing that, it is like that there's a liquor store every 500 meter, and after 6 p.m. everybody, like all the men, they're just drunk rolling on the streets, and even the liquor stores are not working fine. Okay, like there's no beer available for weeks. There was no beer available for weeks because it's Telangana, so election was happening, so they just cut off supply. It's not like on the day, usually what happens is on the day of the election they'll just shut down the they'll just shut down the liquor stores. No, here they will, stop supplying beer only for like 10 to 15 days before the election date, because like, beer is the easiest thing that you kind of, send out to people and like, kind of bribe voters or influence voters or whatever, that's the common perception. I really don't know what the logic is, but there's no beer now. Even now, like most beer brands will not retail only here, and it's right next to Hyderabad. Like you go like 40 minutes and you get it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm ranting about beer because like it's just another symptom of this dysfunctionality. There are like 20 biryani stores, 20 medical stores, um, 500 alcohol stores which don't keep beer or keep like very cheap beer like Knockout or something, which is actually just acid, which is aerated acid. Cheap beer is just that, like, or cheap whiskey. It's not even whiskey. It's technically this. So if you see brands like Royal Stag or even below that, Officer's Choice, which are the cheapest drinks. Like you go to any alcohol store, that's what the working class people who are the really working poor, they're buying that because it's cheap. You can't buy whiskey that cheap. So what they do is they call it whiskey or they call it like some version of that, but technical industrial name is IMFL, which is industry manufactured foreign liquor. Basically, it's a chemical. It's some chemical which they color and flavor to resemble whiskey. But what happens is, if you're drinking that, it's rotting your liver out like much faster than whiskey can, because it's just some bizarre concoction. And that's what cheap beer is. That's what all of this is. And so it's symptomatic. Like, there are like biryani shops, which, by the way, which is the another rant that I can get into, which is this is this myth, this absolute myth. This is the most controversial thing I'm about to say on this podcast ever. And imagine what a big range that covers. Most controversial thing is Hyderabadi biryani is overrated. Okay, I'm done with it. I'm done being polite. I'm done pretending Hyderabadi biryani is like, is something that we should all revere. We should all bow down to. Yes, and I'm also like, just before recording this, I'm taking it. I'll come back to Hyderabadi biryani, but like, I'm 32 podcasts in, and I'm a grown ass adult, and I'm trying to get over this idea that I shouldn't, like, smoke or drink while on camera. Like, it's just this very dumb training that I have been kind of built in. Look, these are not the healthiest habits. I have it. I'm speaking to myself now, so indulge me. You're part of my therapy. Okay, I just do these things because my life's a dump. Okay, like this city, my life is a dump. I was living in a house which had like, 600 cockroaches, which would crawl over me every night. So I kind of shifted flat, and like nothing works here. Like, it's been 20 days since I moved houses, and like, pipes are broken, everything is salted over, and like, there's like some previous occupants, like the kids have left scribblings on the wall. Like, what is this? What is this? And um, I'm used to this kind of a dump life, and that's what I spent my whole life trying to get out of. And like, it is incomprehensibly bizarre to me that like my life has come a full circle and मैं वापस यहीं पर आ गया हूँ. And the only difference is now I'm ranting on camera and I'm like having a podcast and I'm going on Instagram and I'm saying all these things. उस पे भी I recently, like, some reel I made and someone is like, hey, you better be careful at work, at work. They're like, you better be careful because like this kind of stuff is not seen okay. This kind of stuff is not seen okay. मतलब ये कैसा कहर है? What is this cult of terror? Like, you can't say or do anything. I'm not naming any, even the ones who let me go previously, like those shits, right? Like, I don't name these people. I don't call them out. I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm just expressing my views in a very kind of like generic way. उसमें भी कोई आके तुमको बोलेगा, no, 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 this is, be careful. ये एक massive, a psychosis of terror, generalized terror. Don't say what you think. Don't be this, don't be that. And so basically, like, I was kind of, more than one person has kind of come and told me, you should be careful about what you put out. Okay, what do you put out, what do you say, what do you say on Twitter, what do you say on many of my Instagram and podcast followers actually don't see follow me on Twitter, where I am actually far more critical and I'm very direct and very topical in that sense. And on Instagram I'm like, just like sharing these reels about Savarna culture and like, dumb things about astrology that these people will say, or finance influencers or things of that nature. And I'm just starting to put stuff on Instagram because the idea is anytime this job can go. I last year when my job went and I was applying, I sent my CV out to like some 50, 60 places. I have a whole Excel sheet of the date, and I'm not like that, date and application and things of that nature, and I applied. And here's the thing: if you see my CV and if you understand academia at all, it's a good CV. I'm not saying it's the best. It's a good CV. I have research publications. I have great teaching feedback. I have, what you call public humanities. I write articles in, platforms like the Caravan and, Quint and Swaddle, of course. And many of these articles have, like, it's not like, one and done. Like, a lot of people write these articles and it's forgotten the next day. Some of these articles that I've written like even a year ago, year and a half ago, are still in circulation. People still talk about it. Somebody will just read it and share it. You're still getting tagged. People are writing over it, like they're building on that argument and they'll cite it. So it's in circulation. It's influential. This podcast itself, I've had some important guests on. I've put in so much to say and everything in that sense. And you do all of that, and you put that in. I have research grants. I Last summer I went to Mexico on a research trip. It was a fully funded fellowship that I had for a researching about a comparative urbanism between Bombay and Mexico City and things of that nature. So I do conferences. My research profile is pretty strong. My publications are there. I've got a good portfolio. I've been teaching for 9, 10 years. And there's no reason why I should not be able to get hired. And then, like, these fucks, like, this is a new phase of Savarna politeness with caste taking over. We are seeing this again for a brief window. I'd said this years ago, like, I think on one of my very first podcasts, like when I didn't have a podcast of my own, I was on Anurag's show, I think. And Anurag had asked me at the end of it was, I think, Anurag Minus Verma, the first episode that I did with him. We've done a bunch since then. And in that episode, like, Anurag in the end asked, like, do you think, like, Dalit Lives Matter, the movement was going on strong. And he was like, do you think this will change things? And I remember, you can go back and listen to it on Anurag's show. I said, it's gonna change nothing. it's going to be exactly the same, and eventually the savarnas will just co-opt us and get tired and move on. And that's what happened. Like a lot of these academic and civil society and media institutions have not opened spaces for us. What they have done is they have taken one person. So you look at every major media institution in India now, like the online media ones, the ones who care, kind of. For the audio listeners, I'm gonna light a cigarette. So just like that's what the pause is. Yeah, I don't care anymore. Okay, I have bad habits. Deal with it. So here's the thing. So all of these institutions have now taken one or one or two, usually SC, Ambedkar identifying people, and have kept there, and that's like their shield. And I'm very happy for some of these people who've got those jobs, and many of them are incredibly talented, and they are like literally adding that edge to those organizations. So you look at, like, Caravan will have, like, let's say a Sagar will be working there, in News Minute. I'm sure there's more than that, but like the top of my head, there's Shudipta Mandal is there, and like, different organizations, they'll take on and it's the same with academia also. Like you look at all these overseas US South Asian studies departments and so on, like they've all taken one two all these Anupama Rao and all of these people, they've taken one and two. Ab tum inko kuch bol nahi sakte. Now you can't critique these institutions, because they will take these people out and trot them out, saying, look, we have these people. You can't say that we are casteist and we are gatekeeping. अगर हम gatekeeping कर रहे होते तो ये लोग नहीं होते. So I mean, that's the kind of a, space. Like Indian Express is beautiful in that sense, right? Old school newspaper, they gave a column to Suraj Yengde. So Dalitality is there. But because they've given a column to Suraj Yengde, now you can't call them casteist, because Tavleen Singh will come, that old hag, that bad, that old crone, she'll come and she'll be like, it's time to end reservations in India. She's openly writing. She's written 2 or 3 articles like that in the last 4 months. And if you try and say Indian Express is like a casteist newspaper, they'll be like, no, we are not. Look, Suraj Ingre has a column, right? And more power to Suraj, and like he's writing, like, whatever. He's not everyone's cup of tea, whatever. I'm happy that he has a column. I'm happy that he writes. I'm happy that he gives space to other people to write and get great. But the point is not about Suraj or any of these people or any of these people studying in those departments or working in these organizations. It's how these organizations function. They've closed ranks. They're not fundamentally changing the nature of these organizations. They're not fundamentally changing the nature of these institutions. They're just taking one or two odd people, and that's like their get out of jail card, saying like, look, you can't really question us anymore, right? And for people like myself, that's that's the end game. Because if you are going to take one or two odd people, like, then it's done, right? Like you've just that's how reproduction of class happens. That's what Bourdieu is also talking about. Like you take a few people in. If you look at the culture industry theory about the critical Frankfurt School, uh, a lot of it is just that. Like you take the counter formula, you take the counter culture, you take just enough of it, and you build it into it the same thing. So the institution doesn't change, but now it has built a sort of stakeholdership with a small group of people who were earlier sort of collectively opposing it. That's what it is. And I again insist, do not take these comments out of context. A lot of people who have these jobs and who are in these spaces, I'm very happy for them. They're doing great work. It's not about them. I'm talking about the institutions at large. The reason why I'm doing that is, and you can call me bitter, and like, fine, I'm bitter. Here's the reality of it. Last year when I lost my job because I wrote a dumb article in a random platform, okay, that's not why faculty in India should be losing their jobs. I don't care what your position is. It's not a polarizing thing. It just, like, a lot of the Savarna faculty in my institution ganged up. I lost my job, and I've been applying ever since. And then what will happen is, like, someone like Azim Premji will interview me. Azim Premji University, APU. Oh, ooh, like, let's not say anything bad about them and all. Like, they'll interview me, and like in the interview they're telling me things like, oh, we are a big fan of you. We love your writing, we're great fans over here. And then like 2 days later, like in that interview, I'm getting the vibe, oh, like it feels like I am interviewing you. It's not my job interview, it's like I'm interviewing you. That's how nice you're being to me. And then, like, 3 days later, I'll get an email saying like, thank you for your interest, we have moved on. Like, what? How did this happen? And mine is not an isolated experience. I don't know name them. I know some more people, Ambedkarites, who have had a very similar experience. They've interviewed. In the interview, they'll be like, "Oh, we love your work," and then like they'll be rejected, and I'm like, "What is going on here?" And same with all of these Ashoka, Jindal. Like, look, Ashoka's not going to give me a job. That much I know. I spent a lot of my time. I decided years and years ago that, like, one of my like pet peeves is I want to take on Ashoka. I want to kind of like this institutional respectability aura, which is such a savarna cultural creation. ये मेरे को नहीं पसंद था. तो मैंने उनके बारे में बहुत लिखा है, बहुत बोला है, ट्विटर पे, आर्टिकल्स पे, पॉडकास्ट पे. So I get it, like that's not the institution I'm gonna get hired from. But as an academic, as a teacher, as a researcher, I have a lot to offer. I've put my CV out. The only places which will hire you is when you're at this level and this outspoken, is like a lower tier organization. अभी न्यूज में गलगोटिया है, like something like that, where they truly don't give a shit about who you are and what you say. They'll pay you a much more diminished salary. You'll work in a dumpy town like this, and you can be fired at any time because they don't give a shit. What will you do? Like, if tomorrow I'm fired, like, what will I do? I'll come on this podcast and say, yeah, these are this is what happened. They don't care. They don't care. They're a different kind of institution. The business model is different. Like, Galgotia doesn't care that it's in the national media because people are laughing at it. They don't care. And this is what Savarnas listening to shows like this don't understand. You don't get just how precarious our lives is. You listen to us, and I'm not talking about just myself. You listen to us and you're like, oh, I'm learning so much. I keep getting these messages like, I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much. You No, but like your cost of learning has made my life like doubly precarious. Okay, 1 year I've been applying. Like, I knew right away. Like, it's May now. Exactly last year in May, I was told that, like, okay, we have to let you go because you whatever. Like, the article has come out and it's generating a lot of heat, and a lot of Savarna faculty have gone to the management and said this guy is a problem. Okay, it has nothing to do. There was no complaint against me by the students. There was no fight. There was no issue. Basically, they ran a campaign against me and they said like this guy is a problem because the way Savarnas usually control, the way Brahmins caste usually control outspoken Ambedkarite Bahujan faculty in academic institutions is वो हमको platform ही नहीं देते, which is what was happening to me, right? Like, you'll be put aside, they'll joke about you, they'll sideline you, they'll isolate you, nobody will speak to you. You'll be given like random shit courses, and none of your initiatives will be picked up. Your research funding will be curbed, or they'll ask too many questions and all of those kind of things. Except, and all of that was happening except I started speaking online, so now my name was still getting out there. So they could control me inside the campus, but my name was getting out there, and that made them very unhappy. So they just went out and said, "Oh, he's bringing bad press to the institution," and the institution let me go. And after that, I've been sending my CV out everywhere. I knew immediately last year that okay, I'm not gonna get hired again by an institution of this stature. I'll keep getting hired by, like, a lesser and lesser tier of organization. I'll not get a job in a big city, or if I do, it'll be like at half the salary. And like, so if earlier I was getting 100 rupees, now I will get like 70 rupees, and the cost of living will go up by like 20 rupees or whatever. So like, I'm my cost has gone up, my salary has gone down, so my life overall just becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. Like, I knew this last year. With that in mind, I was like, okay, I'm 37 last year, and I was like, I'm old already, but Indian academia is like spitting me out. I'm not the first, I won't be the last. So many great, talented Ambedkarite critical scholars have had to either shut up or have had to leave academia, right? That's what is going on. And I wasn't shutting up, and I was like, okay, academia is not going to tolerate me. So what's plan B here? What's plan B? So plan B, I thought, was okay, let me try and uh, go abroad, uh, do a second PhD of sorts. It's a dumb idea to do at 37, 38, but it's not unheard of. Like, I'll do it in a different discipline. I'll do it in like anthropology or geography or something, and look at, like, try to build the area of critical caste studies. Like, I want to do some research on savarnas. I want to do some research on reproduction of elite brahmanism in this new in this new tech, social media, elite IB school kind of a space, the kind of thing that I usually talk about. And I reached out to some institutions. I applied to 9 places. Expensive that is. मेरा 1 लाख रुपए तो उसी में गया है. 1 lakh rupees, which I don't have, by the way. Okay, I don't have 1 lakh rupees. Even today, even though I've been working now for 10 years, and before my PhD another 2 years, so cumulative work experience of 12 years. I started working, like straight out of the gate in my 20s, and this is only corporate employment I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the odd jobs I had while I was in college and things of that nature, right? And despite that, despite being in my late 30s and been earning, like, I don't have, like, 1 lakh rupees just sitting around here. Like, I teach a lot of my savarna students. They'll just apply. They'll apply to 14 places, 13 places, and they don't have to worry about it because their parents have already paid like 8 lakh rupees fees per year. What is another 2 lakh rupees for college application? Like, money itself is not a filter. And then you're like doing your SOPs, and I'm contacting all these professors. Like, all of them was sweet. Like, everybody was very encouraging. But here's the result out of it: rejections from everywhere. And I'm not the only guy who got rejected. A lot of very talented, many of them known, visible Ambedkarites applied, and our rejection rate has started going up. It's just embarrassing. Okay, you're known on Twitter and you're known on Instagram as like this very critical academic person and all of that, and then you apply to these colleges and they reject you. So many people don't want to talk about that. You only announce if you get in, right? You don't announce rejections. But many Ambedkarites I know, many of them very critical, younger than me, not like me with already a PhD in academic career, like starting out. Many of them have already studied abroad, through one scholarship or the other, or have gone to a top central university and have applied. Their work is out there. Their work is being cited. They're being called for, special talk, guest talk, ajao, like for this. That kind of profile is being rejected. So it's very interesting now. Like, you'll announce a critical caste studies fellowship or a postdoc. And the kind of people who are applying for it, again, talented, critical, known people, the kind of people whose articles you're citing, the kind of people who you're inviting for special talks, when they apply for these kind of postdocs, like, then you're not being taken in. And that's very revealing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it immediately communicates to me is that what has happened is that these institutions have taken a few people in and tried to co-opt or behold them to that framework. तो like, आप अगर चले भी जाते हो तो भी प्रॉब्लम है. You go to an Oxford, you go to a Columbia. Now you can't really talk very publicly about Columbia. Now you can't very publicly talk about, the Savarna academia there, because they are your immediate, right? तो आप बोल नहीं सकते हो कुछ. But your name will be used by those institutions, by those South Asian studies, by those Savarna academics to say that, look, we are changing, we are getting these marginalized people in. And then there are people like me and all these other Ambedkarite scholars जिनको वो घुसने ही नहीं देंगे अभी, because the whole point was not to change these institutions, not to change knowledge production. The whole point was that हमें आप कैंसल मत कर देना, हमें आप कॉल आउट मत कर देना. तो अब आप कॉल आउट नहीं कर सकते, नाउ यू कैंट कॉल आउट. So basically, I've not got any new job, I've not got any overseas opportunity. I'm stuck here in this Sangha Reddy. The only change in my life has been मैंने एक फ्लैट चेंज किया है, वो भी मेरे को भी 3 महीना लगेगा, जस्ट टू वायरिंग ठीक कराओ, वो पानी निकल रहा है. Every day I come home, like the day before there was a flooding in my house, so the water supply had to be cut off. Like every day, like now this is your life. Now this is your life. This is it. You just have to go one, and then I have to hear and keep a straight face when I hear like Savarna academics working in like elite universities overseas, or in top metropolitan cities making twice the money, and living in houses which are much fancier with all the facilities. Matlab, आप तो you can just put on your phone and on urban clap you will press, and someone like me, some Bahujan, will only come and fix the plumbing. Not like here where you have to like chase like the guy and he'll come 4 days later, because he also doesn't know how to handle these things, right? And then tum mere ko aake bologe, then you will come to me and say like, oh my god, the pressure of writing and publishing is so much. What the hell do you know about pressure? Shut the hell up. And it's completely gone out of hand. And like I'm just and someone will be like, oh, you sound bitter, and yeah, I am bitter. Okay, like bitterness is fine, bitterness is a human emotion, be an adult, deal with it. Okay, like this idea that you shouldn't be bitter, why shouldn't I be bitter? तुम पैसे दे रहे हो मेरे को, are you paying me to not be bitter? If you are, then tell me. Then the only option is like, okay, like I am at this point very serious. Like I joke to my friends sometimes that अगर मेरा पेट्रियन एंड यूट्यूब से पैसा आने लग गया ठीक ठाक, एक्सक्यूज मी, wow, the symbolism of that, I mentioned that and I sneeze. But like if I joke to my friends that like if the Patreon and the youth, I'll become a YouTuber. I'll quit being a professor. मेरे को दो पैसे का prestige नहीं है. I have no like uh, this pride of academia which a lot of these savarnas have. Like they just want to be in academic life, into the, like recently I read like this article about slow academia. You want to read ideas and you want to process things, and shut the hell up. Okay, you're lazy, you're privileged, you're entitled. You don't have to deal with real pressures. You have ancestral wealth, you have caste network. तुम्हारी ये job जाएगी भी, तुम्हारे को पांच और दे देंगे. Like you are like in academic, I don't know if people know this or not, like a lot of academic hiring, a lot of academic publishing is through references. Like even before there's an opening, people will be like told, oh, you need to apply there, this is a, like those networks don't work for people like us. Even if I was not outspoken, up to I'm outspoken, so I'm basically not at all considered for this. So why should I give a fuck? तुम वैसे भी नौकरी नहीं दोगे. द पार्ट्स ऑफ दिस जॉब दैट आई लाइक, which is I like classroom teaching. Okay, I don't need to be in a university system for that. I can do it online, I can do it like in many different ways. I was doing it in the 1 year I spent at Nalanda. I can do things like that. The parts of this job that I like are research. I like academic writing, I like reading books. I don't need, I can do that on my own. Okay, I can do that on my own. I see very little value at this point to keep trying to beg these Savarna academia for a job, for a space. By roji roti de do, nahi chahiye. What they'll call me for is special talk. In February there was a talk, one of the talks, like last few months I've been very busy. Oh, I've been called for talks to a lot of places. I've been to a lot of institutions. I've put up some of those things that I've said in the Patreon, those speeches. So I think the triple IIT, they had a conference, and I was on a panel with, there's a panel. There's a few of us. There's a Khabar Lahiriya team also, I think, there. And Siddesh was there, Bakery Prasad, my friend. And that was the first time Siddesh and I were meeting. And Bhumika had, like, recorded like some of that talk, and she was in the audience. And I remember saying I swear to God, so these people, I mention these people because you can, like, they can back me up on this. Like, this happened. I'm not just flexing on this. Like, I actually went up on the mic and I said, "Ki, you don't want us as colleagues. You want us as guest speakers. कि आओ और एक कुछ radical बोल के जाओ. Say something radical." And I was like, मैं यहाँ पर आके ना आपके यहाँ पे नसें भी काट लूंगा ना अपनी. Like, I'll cut my wrists and I'll bleed on your stage, and I'll be like, I am dying here. Actually, that will make your event a hit. That's what you want. You want me to go there and play the radical. You want me to go there and, spill out my trauma and like guts and pain, right? But you'll not give me a job. What you're essentially saying is that, oh, we value you because you bring some color and, flair to, this otherwise very dry and drab proceeding. But we don't want to hire you as a job because फिर तुम institutionally colleague बन जाओगे. Right now, if I am a Savarna, I have a value in inviting like some SC, ST, OBC, Ambedkarite, critical guy, artist. Then I become valuable ना. मैं बुलाया तुमको. मेरा हुआ ना, like, look, I did this and I'm learning so much. I get to be humble. This is a very, I've written about this. This is a very Savarna performance of humility as a form of cultural capital. उसमें भी they'll take cultural capital. मैंने बुलाया and, oh, Ravikant, oh, Buffalo, you're so inspiring. They'll do that. If I'm so inspiring, give me a job, no? I'll send you my CV. आज ही भेजता मैं. I'll send you my CV and I'll send you my publications and I'll send you my teaching feedback. I'll send you my teaching statement, my research statement, my, all of those things, cover letter. Give me a job. वो क्यों नहीं दोगे तुम? एक दिन बुला के, मतलब, मेरे से सुन के क्या? What's the point? Like, at this point, is the only value of it that, like, it makes you look good? आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस लॉजिक. सो मैंने वहां पर बोला था उस स्टेज में कि, लाइक, हम नशे भी काट लेंगे, मैं नशे काट लूंगा, यहाँ पर तुम्हारा इवेंट हिट हो जाएगा. ओके, it'll just make your event more glamorous. It'll have no value to me actually. And, that's it. Like, so then why should I be in academia? Done for, I'm done trying to engage with these Savarna students, these monsters. They practically, like, I've talked about it, they practically harangued me to the point of self-harm and suicide. That's how Buffalo Intellectual was born to begin with, right? When I was nobody on the internet, they harangued me. Now I'm on internet, so now they are like, oh, like, many of these, this is strange to me actually. When I was doing my live shows, I would go to different cities, and many of my former students would come to listen to that show. And I was like, they're all like, firstly, you're buying ticket to listen to me, and you're like all like, oh, this is so nice, and, like, and you're so polite. But जब मैं तुमको पढ़ा रहा था, when I was actually in class, when I was seeing you 3 times a week, and when I was trying to engage with you, and I was trying to talk to you, and I was trying to make the same points actually, that time you dismissed me. You did not just dismiss me, you pushed me aside, you cut me down to size, you gossiped about me to my other colleagues. You're just as responsible for pushing me out to the margins. अब क्योंकि वो तुम Instagram में, the friends that you have follow me or whatever, so there's some cultural capital in associating with me, so now you're showing up. Tomorrow, if there is no cultural capital with this, you will abandon me again also. So I have no क्या बोलते हैं, no qualms about this also. मुझे पता है how these things operate, right? And there's like, oh, you're now famous on Instagram. Firstly, we are not. Firstly, I'm not. नो अम्बेडकराइटिस, वी आर जस्ट नोन इन अ वेरी स्मॉल सर्कल, ठीक है। उसके बाद एंड देन लाइक, ओ यू हैव क्लाउड, यू हैव क्लाउड, ये मैं आज से नहीं 3 साल से, यू हैव क्लाउड, यू हैव क्लाउड, यू आर डूइंग इट फॉर क्लाउड। ओनली ए कंप्लीटली deranged savarna mind can come up with this concept called cloud. Cloud का क्या करूं मैं, क्लाउड का अचार बनाऊं मैं? Can I, buy something from Amazon using cloud? Is cloud a currency? Only Savarnas think cloud is a currency because they actually have the wealth. Material wealth you have. Cloud is not currency because currency is currency. Paisa is paisa. Cloud is not paisa. Cloud is not giving me wealth. I'm putting my stuff on Instagram. I'm making zero money from it, by the way. Do you know how long I have to do this? And how deep I have to do this for me to make the like a viable living income from YouTube? The people who do this, they have teams of people working every, like, I've spoken for 40 minutes, I'll put this 40-minute clip on YouTube. It doesn't work, I have to clip this up, I have to make different topics out of it, and like एक episode से 15 clips निकालो, हर clip को market करो, like it's a full-time job trying to do that engagement. And the people who do it, who are good at it, they are not good at speaking, like every, like and I'll be a little like I'll be straightforward with this. Every article I have written is not a hack. Every article I've written, the reason why these things keep getting discussed, keep getting circulated, because उसमें content है भाई. There's a nazariya, there's a perspective, there is a tone, there is a take, which whether you like it or dislike it is at least authentic. That's my thing. I'm authentic. This podcast, whether you listen to it, whether you like it, you might not know why you like it. The only thing is that it's authentic. So I'm ranting like this because I didn't want to come here and be like, oh yeah, guys, this, that. No, man, I'm just in the state of mind, so I'm saying it like it is. I'm authentic. If it's good, it's good. It's not, it's not. But maybe I shouldn't be. Authentic से किसको पैसा मिलता है? I should just should have been born rich, or like there are these corporate podcasts. वो वो मीडिया हाउस का पॉडकास्ट चला रहा है, उस पॉडकास्ट को कौन सुन रहा है? हु आर दीज इनेन ब्रेन डेड पीपल हु आर लिसनिंग टू दीज random ass podcasts? And then the same people will go and judge their boomer parents who are like watching Arnab Goswami. उसमें तुम्हें क्या फर्क है? You're listening to the same kind of brain dead content. And again, like, I don't mean to flex, but like I've been very open with this. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. You can, if you follow News Laundry or a subscriber, go to the NL Hafta episode where I was there last time. And I think it was the episode just after Ram Janmabhoomi thing or whatever. And a lot of the News Laundry people had written to News Laundry saying ki, we didn't like your coverage of it, you were too mild on it, you had to be critical on it. And I just happened to be on the show talking about OBC Maratha or something, because that's why these people will call me, you're OBC, so we'll call you for OBC. Like, they're not going to call me to discuss, I don't know, animal or Hira Mandi or something. Like, fuck you. Like, tu OBC hai, tu caste pe baat karega. I have no other skill, obviously, right? So, I mean, that's true. Like, that's true for all Ambedkarites. We can only be called in to talk about caste. So, if you're a scheduled caste from Maharashtra, so you will be called in to talk about Maharashtra caste politics. If you're a scheduled caste from Uttar Pradesh, you will be called in to comment on Mayawati and Akash Anand. यही आपका दायरा है, इसके आगे आपको कोई नहीं बोलेगा. तो they had called me for something like that. But somehow I think, like, Abhinandan Sekhri, or I think it was Abhinandan only, he asked me ki, what do you think about this kind of comment that News Laundry subscribers are saying that we were not critical enough. तो मैंने बोला, यार तुम्हारा मतलब, these are your audience, so you have to be polite to them. They are not my audience, I don't need to be polite to them. आई थिंक दे वेरी स्पॉइल्ड। ये कैसा तुम्हारा एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि मैं न्यूज लॉन्ड्री का सब्सक्राइबर हूं तो आज राम जन्मभूमि के उसमें मेरे को क्रिटिकल फीलिंग चाहिए तो मेरा पॉडकास्ट आके मेरे को बोले क्रिटिकल, like like I'm seeing all the flags and all the प्राण प्रतिष्ठान things happening WhatsApp group और लड्डू बिटरा, बट मेरे को पॉडकास्ट आके थोड़ा मेरे को वो ऐसे ऐसे सहलाए, मेरे को वो बाम लगाए थोड़ा, मेरे को थोड़ा बोले कि नहीं क्रिटिकल ये वो। ये कैसा परफॉर्मेंस है भाई? अगर तुमको इतना प्रॉब्लम है तो पॉडकास्ट को क्यों चिट्ठी लिख रहे हो? जाओ ना अपने बिल्डिंग के नीचे, वहां पर तुम्हारे अंकल जी लड्डू बांट रहे होंगे, उनको बोलो ड्रामेटिकली, जाओ उसे लड्डू फेंक दो, अंकल मुझे नहीं पसंद लड्डू, ऐसे फेंक दो। थोड़ा ड्रामा करो, थोड़ा फन होगा, सबको मजा आएगा। फैमिली में कलेश होगा व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में, शायद तुम्हारे कॉलोनी के कोई RWA दूसरे कोई कॉलोनी वाले केस कर दे तुम्हारे ऊपर, फिर तुम जाओ ट्विटर पे लिखो कि मेरे ऊपर केस हो गया, फिर ट्रोल्स आए। तो ऐसा कुछ करो ना, नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है तो ऐसा कुछ करो। You're upper caste, you're Savarna, you're coming from a Hindu privilege, you're living in a gated community, you have disposable income you have cultural capital to understand English, to follow podcasts and so on. You have disposable income to subscribe to, uh, platforms like News Laundry, और खाली न्यूज लॉन्ड्री को तो किया नहीं होगा, और भी जगह अप्लाई, मतलब दैट्स हाउ मीडिया बुकेज वर्क, नो लाइक तुमने, if you are the kind of person who can open their wallet up for news laundry, which means you are used to the idea of paying for curated content, तो दैट्स नॉट द ओनली वन you're paying for many more things also, सच्ची बताओ कर रहे होगे। और फिर तुम चिट्ठी लिख रहे हो, फिर तुम्हारा इतना ओनरशिप एंड एंटाइटलमेंट है कि तुम ईमेल कर रहे हो कि मुझे पसंद नहीं आया कि तुम डांटा नहीं लोगों को कि वो राम मंदिर में ऐसा क्यों, वो क्यों डांटे भाई, वो अपना बिजनेस चला रहा है। तो तुम स्पॉइल्ड हो बेसिकली, तुम जाओ ना, तुम कुछ करो, इतनी तकलीफ है तुमको तो। दिस इज व्हाट आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, लाइक आर वी प्रॉप्स इन योर लाइफ? I don't want to take up for news laundry. I am just taking up for, like, I'm not a prop in your life. You listen to me, you get something out of it, good for you. You like it, good for you. You don't like it, fine. Okay, fine. Go write about it somewhere, go talk about it somewhere. I don't care. ओ लाइक ओ ये बफेलो, ये इसको लेफ्ट पॉलिटिक्स नहीं समझ में आता, ही डजंट अंडरस्टैंड, ही ही डजंट नो द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दिस एंड दिस और ही इज अ मिसोजिनिस्ट। हु गिव्स अ फक? ओके, अपना काम करो भाई। मैं पागल हूँ। आई हैव गॉन मैड, आई एम बिटर, आई एम एंग्री, आई एम 38, माई लाइफ इज अ डंप। Okay, I live in a dump town and my life is a dump and my job can go at any point on time. I'm not going to get hired again in an organization of this stature. ठीक है, तो I have many reasons to be frustrated and bitter. तुम्हारी तो लाइफ अच्छी है ना, तुम्हें अगर अच्छा लाइफ है तो तुम करो ना अपने लाइफ में अच्छा अच्छा काम, कौन रोक रहा है तुमको? कौन रोक रहा है? ब्लॉक कर दो मुझे। I'm just done. Like I'm like earlier when I used to write, when I used to be on Twitter, people used to be like, "Oh, we find you very intimidating." Intimidating क्या होता है? ये कैसा है? फिर now like people are telling me that, "Oh, you're making light of things." ये भी अभी अब now this has started coming back. कि like, "Oh, you make everything a joke. Everything is not a joke. Everything is not a joke. Some things are serious." हाँ भाई, I know some things are serious, but I am authentic. I used to be intense about things because I used to take things seriously. Now I still take them very seriously, but I'm not very intense about it because I think I am a joker. मैं जोकर हूं, मैं जोकर हूं, मेरी लाइफ झंड है, and embraced it. It's liberating. Okay, मैं तो सीधी सी बात है, जिस दिन नौकरी जाएगी मैं ऐसा कोई छोटा टाउन पकड़ लूंगा, कोल्हापुर या ऐसा कहीं पर जाकर, वहां पर आई विल आई विल स्टार्ट कोचिंग क्लासेस। अब मैथ और फिजिक्स इज द रियल मनी। अब दोज आई डोंट नो enough to teach, right? I can talk in English, so I will, like, I'll call it Buffalo English classes. Buffalo speak like a professor, Buffalo English classes। मैं ऐसा करके बोल देता, ठीक है, मिल जाएंगे। इंडिया में गरीबों की कमी है क्या? सवर्णा सोसाइटी का गिफ्ट तो यही है कि उसने हम सबको, मतलब, वंचित रखा है, हम सबको एक्सक्लूडेड रखा है, राइट? तो इफ यू प्रॉमिस गुड इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग, राइट, अब वो आता है मेरे को। दैट्स वन थिंग दैट, लाइक, अ लॉट ऑफ दीज पीपल कांट डू, विच इज द एबिलिटी। आई कैन स्पीक टू इन इंग्लिश, बट मैं अपने समाज के लोगों के साथ मस्त हिंदी में, मस्त बांग्लाয় কথা বলতে পারি, पंजाबी अच्छी चंगी तरह गल कर सकदा मैं, माड़ी मोटी मराठी भी आंदी है मैनू, लाइक, आई कैन स्पीक इन मल्टीपल डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज, एंड आई कैन कम्युनिकेट ऑल्सो। एंड एक साल और रहा, इफ आई स्टे वन मोर ईयर इन दिस तेलंगाना, मैं तेलुगु भी सीख जाऊंगा, ठीक है? गुजराती आई अंडरस्टैंड, मारवाड़ी आई अंडरस्टैंड, गुजरी आई स्पीक, पंजाबी आई स्पीक, बांग्ला आई स्पीक, हिंदी इंग्लिश आता ही है, सो तेलुगु भी सीख जाऊंगा। तो आई जस्ट, लाइक, मेक यूज ऑफ दिस एंड स्पीक इंग्लिश लाइक अ प्रोफेसर। ऐसा एक कोचिंग क्लास शुरू करेगा मैं आई शट डाउन बफेलो इंटेलेक्चुअल इंटेलेक्चुअल बंद कर देगा। इससे कोई पैसा नहीं है, इसमें कोई यूटिलिटी भी नहीं है, फालतू का टारगेट, लाइक, आई बिकम अ टारगेट, एंड जॉब चला जाता है, एंड, लाइक, it's pointless, right? So I'll just start a YouTube channel, speak like a professor, Buffalo English classes। लोगो भी यही रख लूंगा मैं, ये जो लोगो है अपना, ये सेम लोगो मैं रख लूंगा, एंड जस्ट ना लेबल चेंज कर दूंगा। So I think I'm okay with that, because I'm a clown. The only way I can be authentic in the face of all of these contradictions is to laugh at it. See Savarna, Brahmin, Kayastha, intergenerationally wealthy, Banya, literate, upper caste faculty, intellectuals, writers, सिविल सोसाइटी पीपल, एनजीओ वर्कर्स, राइट, सीरियसली आके मेरे को मुंह पे बोल के जा रहा है, देर लुकिंग मी इन द आई डेड एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ दे आर लर्निंग एंड सो मच डिफिकल्टी इन देयर लाइफ। ओके, you live in, like, Worli in Bombay, you live in Southern Avenue in Calcutta, you live in Indira Nagar or Koramangala in Bangalore। तुम्हारा बैंक अकाउंट अभी चेक करेंगे ना, तो मतलब वो 2 करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी होगी तुम्हारे। इन माई फैमिली देर इज नो फाइट ऑन प्रॉपर्टी ऑल्सो, बिकॉज देर इज नो प्रॉपर्टी ओनली टू फाइट, ठीक है? मेरा बाप है, वो कलकत्ता में बैठा हुआ, वो मर भी नहीं रहा है अभी तक। ओके, माई ओनली ऑब्लिगेशन इज दैट आई डोंट स्पीक टू हिम, I don't speak to my, like, mother। I only speak to my sister, and she has only one line of, and this is this beautiful beauty about my life, like, और हमारी लाइफ ऐसी ही है। मेरी बहन के साथ मेरा एक ही कम्युनिकेशन है। शी विल से, like, our WhatsApp chats is just 2 line conversations once every few months। her WhatsApp message me, did you send the money? And I'll be like, yes। Then I will check my app and which day it is, and then I'll say I sent it on this day। फिर then she will write, okay, how are you doing? Then I will not reply to that। So that's it। So the only person from my family I actually speak to is my niece। She's now growing, she's now in class 9, she'll go into class, like, I think this is summer, she'll go into class 10। She's a sensible kid, and she's taking an initiative to connect with me। I don't know why, I think she's also mad, but that kid is interesting, so I speak to her। So she has a direct line, she's the only one in my family who has a direct line to me, that if she calls me or if she messages me, I'll respond। बाकी those privileges I have taken away from everybody in my family, because that's the only way I could have been sane. And by the way, what you're seeing is the sane version of me. अब बताओ मैं ये हंसू नहीं तो क्या करूं? Right? So that's the thing. YouTube, Patreon, इससे तो पैसा वैसे भी आने वाला नहीं है. Like some money comes in, but I can't live from that money. So I should just shut all of this down and just like reconcile. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Like that's what happens to, by the way, Ambedkarites. This is for Savarnas listening. This is the pattern. ठीक है, ये आज से नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. आई एम सेइंग सिंस द 90s. Okay, one of the, by the way, I hope someday I get to write that book. One of my very deep wishes is to write a modern history of, or anthology, whatever you want to call it, modern history of online Ambedkarism, right? So it will be like, it will cover institutions like Roundtable India, which started like, late 2000s, 2008, 2010, writing in English. Okay, it will look at Insight Foundation, Anup Bhai's work before Nalanda, Kufir and Anuram Das and all of these. And even before that, like you go into the late 90s, early 2000s, people like, I've heard from the seniors, I wouldn't know this. I've heard from people like, all of these people, like, so Chandraman Prasad, CBP, writing columns in newspapers, like before even social media became a thing, like writing in English, or blogs, or like the great moments, like when Arundhati Roy wrote the foreword to Annihilation of Caste, Doctor and the Saint, and how online Ambedkarites then opposed it in Facebook, and how all these elite Savarnas pushed back. तो इसीलिए जब लाइक व्हेन आई गो ऑनलाइन समटाइम्स एंड दीज elite savarnas try to cancel me or something like that, it doesn't, like, I see it as a historical process. I'm not the first guy this has happened to, and I'm not the last guy this will happen to. And they say it in the worst way possible. वो वो जो था period when people like Anup Bai and Kufir and all of these people who kind of pushed back against Arundhati Roy and Navyana publications trying to co-opt, like, Annihilation of Caste, which is a text in the open public domain for like decades, and like which Ambedkarites and scheduled castes, especially Mahars in have been like printing and translating in small presses and selling for 5-10 rupees at all of these fairs and melas and these events. And then you come in from Delhi and you get in Arundhati Roy, like Amitabh Bachchan, she will come in and write like a, introduction, and then you selling it. And what are you saying? This is to introduce Dr. Ambedkar. So if it is an introduction, who are you introducing it to? Who doesn't know him? Because we know him, you don't know him, right? When I say we, I don't mean myself. I grew out of the movement, but I meant like the community. So the community is fighting back, and they were called all kinds of things, Bajrang Bahujan Dal, and oh, you're misogynist, that's why you're opposing Arundhati Roy, and all kinds of things. Now many of the people who said that today are themselves like, critiquing other savarnas for caste appropriation. So it's very interesting, these patterns. Like, so the reason why I say this is, the reason why I want to do that anthology is, if you start from like, the late 90s and early 2000s, and you cover all these important points, and you cover all these important moments, and you cover all these important debates and these important pivotal figures, people like myself, and like the people that like I'm my work and a lot of people around me online is a product of post Hathras COVID era, post Dalit Lives Matter, that little culture. So we are at the end of this, right? And the pattern has always been the same. Assertive Ambedkarite voice will rise. They will speak very critically, very angrily. They'll shake things up for a few years. After those few years, they will quietly recede into the background or disappear entirely. They just stop screaming in the public domain. They just go in the background, do some meaningful work, or find some job, or just disappear only. And then another new set of people come in. यही हो रहा है. So I'll also disappear like that. It's a part of the process. Nobody has got like nobody has got like access to the mainstream, so-called mainstream, by being critical of the mainstream in this country. This is why I say in India we don't even know how to do capitalism properly, because in a caste society you can't do capitalism properly, because one of the core tenets is like you see value in counterculture, in cultural goods especially. You will see value in counterculture, like the rise of the hip hop music cannot happen. Like that kind of a thing could not happen in a caste society. Like it's countercultural. It started in the ghettos. It started in like among some very very disenfranchised black communities, and then the music industry sees the commercial value of it, understands that there is a lot of money to be made with this, that it has quote unquote crossover potential, that there is a lot of money to be made. So they shift gears. Now of course that has its own exploitation. It's not romantic. It has its own cycles. All of that I understand. But my point is, there is not the possibility of an of a SC or a Ambedkarite or a Bahujan Beyonce, for instance. यहाँ से हो ही नहीं, वो होने ही नहीं देगा, होने ही नहीं देगा. स्ट्रेट बोल रहा हूं मैं. लाइक हाउ मेनी ऑफ दीज मीडियोकर savarna comics who can't fill out a 200-seater room in Bombay after doing comedy for 10, 15 years at a very high level, like hoardings छपे हैं, ये हुआ है, वो हुआ है. नेटफ्लिक्स स्पेशल आ गया है, उनको Amazon प्राइम स्पेशल दे रहा है, नेटफ्लिक्स दे रहा है, टीवी शो दे रहा है, all of that. They'll never give it to someone like, let's say, Anurag Minus Verma. Give him a TV show. Why won't you give? He's a great, like, what do you need to see? He's done like, I, I'm just like giving an example, and I hope Anurag actually gets a show, and I hope he's given the chance to be as successful. But I'm just saying, like, here is a guy who's done like 70, 80 episodes, interviewed a huge range of people. So he's demonstrated his body of work, he's demonstrated he can speak to a wide range of people, and he is his own editorial team, which means he picks the guests and he decides the preparation and the questions, which means one of the reasons why his podcast is so successful is because his guests have been so interesting. So, if you notice, not all of them are Ambedkarites. Many of them are, but he calls them the conversation, the audience he has built. He's proven to you he is a great talk show guy. By the way, I don't even know if Anurag's interested in. I'm just making a point, right? Why would you not give him a show? Why would you? And like the dude makes like great video essays, and like he's demonstrated a very unique style of filmmaking, which is very popular as YouTube essays. So why is no film studio approaching him? Why is no advertising agency approaching him? Like how many more years does he have to do this? Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's money there. There's a conversation there. People are latching onto it. People are organically talking about it, but they नहीं करेंगे. और सिर्फ अनुराग नहीं, like any of these people you take, including myself. तो मतलब for someone like me, beyond a point, like खून जला के क्या फायदा यार. सारा टाइम वरी करो, ये करो, अटैक हो रहा है, इधर से हंस लो, थोड़ा खेल लो. Life is a dump anyways, right? So Yeah, that's it. That's why the episode is a little late. I, went to Goa for a little bit of a break. Okay, like थोड़ा ना पक गया था मैं. So I thought I'll go to Goa, and then I realized what a bad decision that was. Okay, because Goa itself is a dump now. Goa भी dump बन चुका है. Right, but not in the way you think it is. Like a lot of my Savarnas, oh, you're going to Goa? Goa? Up now, Savarnas don't find Goa cool anymore. Or they will find like these pockets. Like somebody will be like, वो तुम ऐसे कहाँ गए बागा बागा तो I don't even go. Why not भाई बागा तो मुझे अच्छा लगा. I liked Baga and Kalangudi. It's like going to Chowpatty. I like seeing that. I like seeing small town families, women wearing, salwar kurti, going into the sea with like, their thing folded up till their shin, and like, these middle aged men. And like, I like that. I feel more comfortable than that. But that's not the idea of the Savarna cool Goa, because their idea of cool Goa is like empty beaches. There'll be like, white people in bikinis and like, things like that. And like you drink and someone comes and sells you drugs or things of that nature. वो नहीं रहा अभी. तो इनको वो अच्छा नहीं लगता है. So, like, they'll be like, go to this beach and that point and that shack and that like, I went to one of these places like, these drinking bars, which is really old school. What a disgusting place, right? Like, I have no issues against shady bars. I like shady bars. Okay, I've been to a lot of shady bars in my life. I don't have a problem with them. But like, ये जो cool people, cool Savarna people shady bar है ना, it's the most disgusting thing ever. Like you go there and like there's some dude's gonna come. He's got a beard till his like till his tummy, and like it's unkempt, and वही उसका look है, arm cover with tattoo, and some people are sitting there, and for everybody this is a vibe. वो टेबल गंदा पंदा पड़ा है, एवरीथिंग स्मैश टुगेदर, फूड इज शेट, ड्रिंक्स आर शेट, यू आस्क फॉर वन मॉकटेल, यू गेट समथिंग एल्स, एंड लाइक दीवार पे ऐसे साइन मारा हुआ है कि दिस इज एन ओल्ड स्कूल प्लेस, नो इट्स नॉट एन ओल्ड स्कूल प्लेस, इट्स अ शिट होल, इट्स अ डंप, दैट्स व्हाट दिस इज, राइट. एंड लाइक वो एक कहीं बॉब मार्ली का पोस्टर डाला हुआ है, एंड देयर इज लाइक सम white white trash hippies who are there, and someone's smoking a joint, और उसी को ये लोग cool बना के बोल रहे हैं. These are the quote unquote who are semi regulars to Goa. Like there's nothing worse and disgusting and more basic and dumb and unintelligent and uncreative than elite urban Savarna recommendations for cool spots of Goa. And I say this because one of a few of my friends sent them. I don't mean you guys, I mean just in general. So my friends, you're good. I'm just saying in general. I've heard a lot of this. Right. It's just so annoying, because you're trying to preserve a idea of Goa which is gate kept from the kind of people you see on Chowpatty Beach, the kind of people you now see at Baka Beach. This enclave of elite hippiness. Savarna society is so repressed, caste society is so repressed, Brahmin society is so repressed कि तुम अपने घर पे ये लिबर्टी नहीं ले सकते. यू कांट ड्रिंक एंड डू ड्रग्स एंड सेक्स इन योर हाउस, even if you're an adult, even if you live alone. So you require, like, I mean, don't be like, oh no, I can do what I want. Shut up, okay? You get my point. You try to do it in your house, तुम्हारे हाउसिंग कॉलोनी वाले अंकल आके तुमको ज्ञान देंगे. वो if you're single women, 2 or 3 women living, like, your landlord will come and give you grief, right? In Pune, where I used to live, the other dump before I came to Hyderabad and discovered, oh, this is a bigger, more disgusting dump. In Pune, they would straight away tell you bachelors ke liye some of these things are not allowed. Like, so if in a gated community there's a swimming pool, bachelors are not allowed. Why? Who gives a shit, right? So these are repressed conservative societies, And you want to know how repressed it is? Go to any tattoo parlor in Pune, and 70% tattoos are, buddy, they're putting Shiva on it. Okay. um, I don't mean any disrespect religiously, I'm just saying, if 70% of the tattoos are religious deity, even though like many people who get these tattoos think that the Lord Shiva is is a rebel or is grunge icon, however you are reinterpreting is not the point. It is still a religious symbology, right? Whether you take Jesus or whatever, and you make Jesus like a rock star or a Palestinian protester, how you interpret is not the point. It is still a religious symbology, okay, fundamentally speaking. So religion के आगे नहीं जा सकते हैं. You go to any bookstore, the Savarna society can't move beyond that, because that's the whole point of a caste society, right? Like it'll be like Mahabharat retold from the point of view of Karan. Mahabharat retold from the point of view of Karan's Swiggy delivery guy, and it is set now in contemporary times. Ramayan, but set 3000 years into the future. Now they're making films like this also. So आप इसके आगे जा नहीं सकते. But you can't reconcile yourself to that kind of a life also. So you need a space where you go and blow off some steam. That role used to be played by places like Goa and Pondicherry and Ladakh and things like that. अब जो एलिट तबका है, जो एलिट सोसाइटी है, अब वो गोवा नहीं जाता है. वो सीधा अभी दुबई जाता है, इस्तांबुल जाता है, वेस्टर्न यूरोप जाता है, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया जाता है, वियतनाम, कंबोडिया, right? So they have just like decided that they are no longer going to be geographically bound by the material reality of India also. So what is left now is us people only. तो गोवा में गया तो मतलब मुझे तो कोई इशू नहीं हुआ, लाइक वहां पर वो बागा कालनगुड में मुझे तो घर जैसा लगा, लाइक ओके, सो इट्स फाइन. It's the only people who have a problem with that is because you have some strange repressed fantasy of going to a more freer space. So freer space तो तुमने रखी नहीं है इस समाज में. तो then don't be cheap, spend some money, go abroad, go to Ibiza. Don't go to Goa and complain. Go to Ibiza. Don't keep these like old school drinking shack which only the locals, semi-local Savarnas know. नहीं 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 नहीं. आप सब corporatize करो. Make everything the Haldiram, or like Haldiram should be everywhere in Goa. You don't like it, you want that like cool hippie feel to it, go to a hippie space. Go to California, go to San Francisco, go to those places, go to Portland. यहां मत करो. पैसा निकालो और उधर जाओ. समझे? मतलब ये सब नहीं चलेगा अभी. Anyways, I'm already like at 1 hour 30 minutes. A good time to wrap this up. Uh, it's been a strange episode to record, but I'm authentic, dude. Like, if I'm in better mood, I'll give better mood things. The election is still going on. Like Kejriwal has come out of prison. Hemant Soren, of course, hasn't come out of prison. But the good thing is, abhi upper caste media, Savarna media, bhi bolne laga hai. Now upper caste media is also saying, yeah, election is contested. So I said this in Jan Feb. Don't worry about giving me credit. Nobody will cite me, but like I have been saying this for a while. Election is tight. The opposition now seems to be losing a little bit of momentum. Two more phases is left. Fortunately, most of the seats, a bulk of the seats is done. Now basically the major areas left to vote still are parts of eastern UP, parts of Bihar, parts of southern part of West Bengal. Okay. These are decisive, and opposition seems to be losing a little bit of steam because it's been a very long election. And if BJP can regroup and get an additional 10, 15, 20 seats than what they were expected to get even 2 weeks ago, it's going to be close. It's going to be close, but we'll see. We'll see. It is what it is. Anyways, thank you for listening, and if you like this, please, subscribe to the Patreon, or buy me a coffee. Though I prefer the Patreon, because Patreon is like a subscription, and I try to give 4 episodes a month. You know, even if it is not every Saturday ish, that's the target. Like, 4 episodes a month, or at least 3 episodes a month. Usually it may not even be an episode, but like maybe a talk. Like, just put up this old conversation that I had with Anurag minus Zorma during the Clubhouse era. It's like 2 years ago. We were talking about online identity, what it does to the personality, privacy. um, I know it sounds very technical, but actually it was a very fascinating and fun conversation. So that's on the Patreon. You can go check it out. Before that, I think I did an episode on men's right warriors who are burning their chaddis, or the burn the chaddi protest. There's some great work there. I can't, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, maybe the way to grow is to do stupid content. And why am I giving like 1 hour, 15-minute episodes on YouTube? This is for free. I don't make any money out of it. And it'll be like years before I see any money from YouTube. Maybe I should cut this down to 20 minutes. 20 minutes से ज़्यादा वैसे भी most of my audience doesn't have the mental capacity to listen in one stretch anyways, right? तो 20 मिनट का एपिसोड देने का, और I'll just talk about वास्तु or investment tips. I will listen to the same few things and I will do that, and I'll do review. I'll do review of some movie like Hira Mandi has come. I'll give a review of that. और वो 20-20 मिनट का मैं बोलूंगा, और बेसिक से बेसिक same point. There has to be no depth. You don't have to re-listen to it. I'll just do that there. And on Patreon, I will just like, do a rehashed version of that. Why should I waste original content inside, put pressure on myself every week to come up with interesting things when there is no money to be made here? It can't sustain me, and it is making me risk my existing bread and butter, right? So it's like, I think that's what that is. I can't go and become young and hot, and I don't have the money to do get ready with me videos. So I think I'm very good. I will be very good at like some of these, वास्तु videos. मैं भी ऐसा बोल सकता हूँ, ऐसे take some dahi, rub it on your head and your hair will grow or something like that. That's it. And शनिवार को और करना ऐसे. एंड दही पे अगर आपने एक तिल का तड़का मारा, और वो तिल का तड़का लेकर ऐसे 2 सोमवार को अगर आप 12 बजे से लेकर 3 बजे के बीच में उसको कड़ी धूप के डायरेक्ट नीचे रखे, और फिर उस दही को लेकर अपने सर पे, मत्थे पे, टकले पे रगड़े, तो आपके टकले से बाल निकलेंगे. ट्राई करके देखिए. बाय बाय. Right. If you like this episode, please consider following me on Patreon, where I do a second show, a small half an hour, on the weekly news and things of that nature, the absurdities and the surreal stuff which is happening around. If you've had enough of me and if you don't want to listen to me that much, I completely understand. I can't tolerate myself. In that case, I would request you to go to buy me a coffee and please like support me, or you can just keep listening to my free share. I don't mind. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim. See you all.